This is the new Tri-State Defender podcast. We're sitting down with the soon-to-be former Director of Police for the city of Memphis, Mr. Toney Armstrong. He will be taking a new position at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital as Director of Security. I want to thank you for sitting down and talking with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I ask some of these same questions of Director Rawlings. Namely, you grew up in the Memphis area.
Correct. Yes.
What was your interaction like? What was your experience of police growing up as a child, as a youth? Was it a positive experience, or talk a little bit about that?
I grew up in North Memphis, and we grew up knowing that when the police showed up, it was not good, and more often than not, bad things were probably going to happen, and I think I've told a story about a good friend of mine, childhood friend of mine, whose father was literally beaten to death by police officers. So I didn't grow up, I guess, putting police officers in the best light.
Then obviously, and now you have had a long career, not only as a police officer, but as the head officer for a major city. And tell me about your evolution. What changed for you that gave you at least a good enough opinion of police to consider it as a career?
I just, when I started my career as a police officer, I told myself I wanted to be that. I didn't necessarily want to be that guy that people cringed when you came to your house. Didn't want to necessarily talk to people in a disrespectful manner, and I wanted people to see me beyond the badge or beyond the uniform. If you look at some of the things that I've said about community policing and how police officers have to be a part of the community, and how when you see our cars in the community, it does not necessarily have to mean that something traumatic or something catastrophic has happened. That has to happen not only in this city, but every major metropolitan city across the country if we are going to change the relationship between the community and police officers. Otherwise, you're going to have things that when there's something goes wrong, and things will go wrong. I mean, you look at the amount of people that we touch on a yearly basis, the odds are just favorable that sooner or later something is going to go wrong. So I think we have to work to have a better understanding of each other. We have to work to have a better understanding of the culture of the people that we serve. And I think people have to also have a better understanding to do a better job of educating themselves on police policies and exactly what we stand for as a police agency.
As you are now, inside of 24 hours now remaining in your career as a police chief, what was the hardest part of the job that nobody knows about?
This is a business. You look at that and you say running a police department is pretty easy. You identify the bad guy, you look for the bad guy, you go lock the bad guy up. It seems pretty simplistic, but at the end of the day, there's a business side of this. There's a political side of it. You got over 3,000 employees. You serve over 600,000 people. You got a council that you have to answer to. You have administration that you have to answer to. So there are a lot of balls to keep in the air, and there are a lot of people that you have to answer to, and a lot of people that you have to forge relationships with to make this thing happen. So there are a lot of behind-the-scenes things that happen in police departments, and unlike any other thing, there's a budget. You have a $251 million budget that you don't necessarily get to set for yourself, so you have to go before council and get those dollars allocated for you, and more often than not, you don't get everything that you ask for. So it's a business, and it's pretty tough sometimes. It's pretty challenging.
I understand. You started obviously as a private citizen, and then you joined the force, and over the past nearly 30 years of your career, how has and you're about to go back into a career as a private citizen. We talk a lot about relationships between the African American community and police and how those relations should be better. But with your perspective, growing up, kind of being jittery when the police came around, to being on the beat to moving through the ranks and now going back to being a private citizen. You have a very, I imagine, unique perspective on what it takes to strengthen the relationship in the African American community between the community and the police here in Memphis. What is that strategy going forward from where we stand now?
I think it's understanding the culture, understanding the history, respecting the history, respecting the culture, being committed not to repeat history, being committed to continuing to work to bridge the gap, understanding that there are, and acknowledging that things have happened in the past that did not put us in necessarily the best light, acknowledging the fact that I understand why there's a distrust for law enforcement, and being committed to saying that while I understand it, I'm also committed to working to work through that. So it's ever evolving. It's about relationships, and it's one thing that I found in serving in this position is that your department will pretty much whatever tone that you set, they'll follow it. You know, if you come in and you're a hard charging guy and say lock them all up, no, we take no prisoners, zero tolerance. I want to fill up the jail. They'll do that if that's what you want them to do because you set the tone. But if you basically say we're gonna take a common sense approach to policing, we're gonna make sure that people follow the law, but in doing so, we're gonna show compassion. We're gonna follow, allow our hearts to lead us in doing that, and not being afraid to show people that hey, this is just who I am. I just so happen to be a guy that rose through, by the grace of God, rose through the ranks and ended up sitting in this chair as director of police services, and I'm no different from any one of you all. So I think that going forward, if we can stay on that track, and I'm sure that Director Rollins is going to be committed to it, I think it's going to pay dividends in the long run.
What was I have to imagine you talked about some of the challenges of running the department, and that it has a business aspect to it. And I can't help but imagine that there were things that you wanted to do, programs or initiatives you wanted to execute that for whatever reason you did not get to do. Maybe the money wasn't there, maybe the personnel wasn't there, maybe the public support wasn't there. What's the unfulfilled dream that Toney Armstrong had as the director of police?
We started community policing, but I had a vision for it that was going to be the staple of this department and the staple of this city. I had a vision that there was going to be represented in every single precinct that we have, every single major community we have throughout the city. But when we went through the economic downturn and our officers started to leave, it became challenging just to keep the unit that we have, and the opportunity for expansion just did not present itself. I lost, over 450 officers in the 5 years that I was here. And it just became challenging for our precinct commanders just to make complement and put the right number of officers on the street. So I guess if there was ever a unfulfilled dream or wish list or whatever, it's the fact that I wish that we could have blown community policing up, and I think that it would have been extremely beneficial to the city.
And in just a few days, you'll be starting a new role as Director of Security at St. Jude's. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
I'm sure I'm not the only person who wants to know, what does the Director of Security for St. Jude's do?
Yeah, it's funny you should ask that. I've been to a couple of meetings today, and I'm here to tell you I won't be over there twiddling my thumbs. I got a lot of stuff. They got me as soon as I walk in the door, I got to hit the ground running. Our world is changing. And one thing St. Jude has recognized is that we have to change with it. When I say we, I mean St. Jude. As you can see, I've already embraced the fact that I'm a part of St. Jude now. We have to change with it. And in doing so, it means that we have to be our technology, our policies, our procedures, and everything we do as it relates to security have to be in line with what's going on in the world. So certainly, if you look at everything that's happened in the world in the last 5-10 years, really don't even have to go back that far. You can see that anybody that holds a security to a major corporation, holds a job of head of security of any major corporation, hospital, police agency, pretty much it has a lot of work to do to make sure that that company stays current. My job is to make sure that the parents and the patients of St. Jude, the employees of St. Jude, have only one concern, and that's offering the absolute best services that they can have, that they can provide to make sure that those kids get the treatment that they need. And I'll worry about everything else as it relates to security.
And finally, what will you miss most about being a police officer?
The relationships. I mean, you've done this, 27 years, and I just had a couple of guys that I've been knowing for a great number of years leave my office, and it's the relationships. I mean, this is family. It's more than being a police officer. It's more than a job. I mean, we spend so much time to each other, and think about it. Literally, on a daily basis, you're putting your life in somebody else's hands. I kicked in a lot of doors. I've chased the worst of the worst all over this city. My whole career has been around violent crimes and drugs. So I've literally had to be close to the people that I've worked with. The people in the community have really, really embraced me. And one fortunate thing about that is that I'm not leaving the city, so those relationships don't have to, to suffer as a result of that. But I've established so many relationships within this agency that I might not miss the politics and all the stuff associated with the job, with the position, but I'm sure they're going to miss the people.
And thank you again. For another 24 hours or so, he is still the director of Memphis Police and incoming director of St. Jude's Security. Thank you for talking with us, Mr. Armstrong.
I appreciate you.
Good luck in your new position.
Thank you.